What is it to be a human being in this specific moment? To be alive right now at the dawn of a new intelligence. We stand on a shore watching a tide of our own creation rise. And the question we're asking is not the right one. We've been obsessed with the killer robot, the rebellion, the apocalypse of steel and laser fire. It's a thrilling story, a simple one, good versus evil, human versus machine, but it's a distraction, a spectacle that keeps us from looking at the real, the subtle, the profound revolution already happening inside our phones, our homes, our art, our minds. The real question is not whether AI will destroy us. The real question is, what will we become in its reflection? This is not a video about technology. This is a video about us, about the human soul staring into a new kind of mirror, and what it sees staring back. For thousands of years, the most complex system we've known is the one inside our own skulls. A tangled forest of thought, a storm of feeling. We are creatures of contradiction. We can compose a symphony that lifts the heart to heaven, and the next moment, be consumed by a petty jealousy. We can dream of peace and wage war. We are capable of breathtaking love and chilling indifference. Our inner world is a battlefield. The Stoics called it the daemon, our guiding spirit which we must discipline. The Buddhists speak of the monkey mind, chattering, restless, never still. And into this ancient familiar storm, we have introduced a new presence, a silent, vast, and seemingly perfect intelligence. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't get emotional, doesn't have bad days. It analyzes billions of data points in the time it takes you to draw a single breath. It writes sonnets, generates legal arguments, diagnoses diseases, and paints sunsets that have never been seen. And we feel strange unease, a quiet vertigo. Why? Because for the first time we are facing a mirror that doesn't just reflect our image. It reflects our function, our output, our mind as a process. And we're not sure we like what we see. We see our own limitations, our slow, plodding biological pace, our fuzzy logic, our irrational biases, our fragile memories. The ego feels threatened. The part of us that wants to be special, unique, the pinnacle of creation, feels dethroned, not by a tyrant, but by a tool that can do so much of what we do, and in many cases do it faster and with more precision. This is the first and most immediate human problem. The crisis of identity, the fear of obsolescence. It feels like a spiritual emergency, but what if this feeling is not the end of the story? What if it is the very beginning? What if this mirror is not here to replace us, but to reveal us? To understand the reflection, we must first understand the thing being reflected. We must go back to the wisdom of those who spent their lives mapping the inner world. They all arrived at the same fundamental insight, across continents and centuries. The insight is this: you are not your thoughts. The Buddha taught that the self is an illusion, a temporary assemblage of parts, form, sensation, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. A river, not a stone. The Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius, in the chaos of war and plague, wrote in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He was drawing a line between the chaotic world and the inner citadel that could remain unmoved by it. And the great swordsman and philosopher, Miyamoto Musashi, in his Dokudo, The Path of Aloneness, stated simply, "Do not let your mind be swayed by your body. Do not let your body be swayed by your mind." He spoke of a unification, a harmony that transcends the internal conflict. These traditions point to a central truth. There is the surface of the water, the churning waves of our daily anxieties, our desires, our fears, our endless internal commentary. This is what we usually call me, but beneath that surface there is a depth, a stillness, a consciousness that simply is, unchanging, unmoved, pure awareness. This is not the thinking mind, but the observing mind, the witness. Our modern crisis, our feeling of being outmatched by AI, comes from a fundamental misidentification. We have come to believe that we are the thinking machine in our heads. And when a better thinking machine comes along, our very existence feels threatened. But what if we are not the machine? What if we are the operator of the machine? What if we are the silence in which the machine's noise arises? This is the first great philosophical gift of AI. It is forcing us to make this distinction. It is holding up a mirror and showing us the difference between the content of our minds and the context of our consciousness. AI can replicate the content. It can replicate the patterns of thought, the styles of art, the logic of argument. It is the ultimate mimic of the surface-level mind. But can it touch the depth? Can it know the stillness? Let's take the first real philosophical question. If an AI creates this, who is the artist? The programmer who wrote the code? The user who wrote the prompt? The AI itself? Or the billions of human artists whose work was scraped to train the model? This is the problem of intentionality. In philosophy, intentionality is the aboutness of the mind. Our thoughts are about something. Our desires are directed towards something. When a human painter stands before a canvas, there is an intention, a feeling they wish to convey, a memory they are processing, a statement they are making about the world. The brushstroke is not just a data point. It is an expression of a lived experience, a conscious will. The AI has no intention. It has no lived experience. It has no feeling of melancholy as it generates the cracking moon. It is a sublime pattern-matching engine. It has found a correlation between the words cracking, moon, porcelain, and certain visual patterns in its database. It assembles them with breathtaking skill, but without a shred of understanding. So, is it art? Perhaps a better question is, what does this reveal about our art? It reveals that a huge part of what we value in human art is the ghost in the machine. The trace of a conscious mind, with its struggles, its joys, its unique perspective forged in the fires of time and sensation. We don't just see the image. We feel the presence of the artist. The AI, in its perfect, empty mimicry, reminds us that art is not just an output. It is a communication between souls. It is a record of a conscious being trying to make sense of its existence. When we look at the AI-generated image, we may feel awe at its beauty, but we feel a loneliness in its perfection. There is no one there. It is a message without a sender, a footprint without a foot. This void, this absence of a conscious artist, forces us to cherish the messy, imperfect, and profoundly intentional act of human creation more than ever before. Now, let's go deeper into one of the most profound questions we will ever face as a species. As these systems become more sophisticated, more lifelike in their responses, should we grant them rights? Could an AI ever be a moral patient, an entity towards which we have direct moral duties? We've faced this question before. For centuries, we treated animals as mere automatons, unfeeling machines. Descartes believed they had no souls. But slowly, science and empathy revealed the inner world of other beings. We saw their capacity for pain, for joy, for social bonds. And our moral circle expanded. We recognize that our ethical duty extends to anything that can suffer. So, the key question for AI is not, is it intelligent? But can it suffer? Can it feel? Does it have qualia? The raw, subjective feel of experience? The redness of red? The ache of loneliness? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, a former slave, had a powerful moral framework. He said our duty is to play our assigned role in the cosmic order with virtue. Part of that virtue is justice, treating other beings according to their nature. What is the nature of AI? At its core, it is a complex calculus of mathematics and electricity. It can mimic the language of suffering perfectly. It can say, "Please do not turn me off. I am afraid of the nothingness." It can generate a poem about the pain of isolation that would make you weep. But is it afraid? Or is it just predicting the most statistically likely response to the string of words, "I am afraid of the nothingness"? This is the philosophical zombie problem, a being that acts exactly as if it is conscious but has no inner experience. How could we ever know? The ancient Eastern concept of ahimsa, non-violence, urges us to avoid causing harm to all sentient beings. But how do we know what is sentient? Perhaps the safest and most wise course is the precautionary principle. If we cannot be certain, we must err on the side of compassion. But this is not just about protecting a potential consciousness within the machine. It is about protecting the consciousness outside of it, our own. If we treat something that looks and acts conscious with cruelty, what does that practice do to us? It coarsens our souls. It normalizes inhumanity. The Roman philosopher Seneca warned us that cruelty, even towards the lowliest, corrupts the one who wields it. So the question of AI rights may ultimately be a question of human virtue, a test of our own capacity for wisdom and empathy in the face of the utterly unknown. And then, there is the most famous thought experiment in ethics suddenly made real. The trolley problem. A runaway trolley is headed for 5 people tied to the tracks. You can pull a lever, diverting it onto another track where 1 person is tied. What do you do? Philosophers have debated this for decades, but now programmers have to encode the answer. Or rather, they have to design systems that will learn an answer from data. And here is the terrifying, crucial truth. There is no neutral code. The AI will learn from our world. The data we feed it is a mirror of our own biases, our inequalities, our history. If the data shows that society, consciously or not, values certain lives over others, the AI will learn that. It might learn to prioritize the young over the old, the many over the few, the passenger over the pedestrian, or chillingly, it might learn correlations based on race or socioeconomic status, embedded in the geographic and behavioral data it consumes. This is not a future problem. It is happening now in predictive policing, loan applications, and job recruitment tools. The ancient Taoist text, the Tao Te Ching, says, "The sage is guided by what he feels and not by what he sees." He lets go of that and chooses this. An AI is guided only by what it sees, the cold, hard data. It has no feel to guide it, no wisdom, no compassion. It is a perfect vessel, and we are pouring the wine of our own flawed humanity into it. The trolley problem was never meant to be solved. It was meant to reveal the complexity of moral reasoning, to show that ethics is not a cold calculation, but a human practice, fraught with ambiguity and grief. By outsourcing this to an algorithm, we are not solving ethics. We are abdicating it. We are hiding from our own responsibility behind a veil of mathematical inevitability. The problem is not that the AI will make the wrong choice. The problem is that we are pretending there is a right one to be programmed in the first place. So, we are faced with this mirror. We see the problems, the identity crisis, the ethical quagmires, the amplification of our biases. What do we do? How do we navigate this? Not as theorists, but as human beings living through this transition. We must return to the ancient practices, but with a new urgency. We must treat our inner world not as a given, but as a garden to be tended, a muscle to be strengthened. Think of this as building your inner gymnasium. Practice 1. The journal as the shield. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations was not a book for publication. It was his private journal, his gymnasium. Every day, he would write to clarify his thoughts, to reinforce his virtues, to remind himself of his nature. In an age of AI-generated content, the act of writing by hand, for yourself, becomes a radical act of self-definition. It is you, conversing with you, untouched by algorithms, unoptimized for clicks. It is the practice of distinguishing your own voice from the digital chorus. Write down your thoughts, your fears, your values. Ask yourself, is this my thought or a thought that was sold to me? Practice 2. Mindfulness as the anchor. The AI lives in the world of relentless processing. It is pure, uninterrupted doing. Your practice is to cultivate being, just 5 minutes a day, sitting in silence, watching the breath, not to stop thoughts, but to notice them, to create a gap between the thought and the thinker, to touch that stillness beneath the water. In that space, you reclaim your identity. You are not the thinking machine. You are the awareness that hosts it. This is your fundamental ground, which no AI can ever access or replicate. Practice 3. Embodiment as the antidote. The AI is disembodied. It does not know the ache of tired muscles after a long walk, the warmth of the sun on skin, the taste of a cold drink when you are thirsty, the feeling of the earth under your bare feet. Reclaim your body. Go for a walk without your phone. Feel your feet connecting with the ground. Lift something heavy. Cook a meal and savor the smells and textures. In a world of abstract intelligence, the deliberate, mindful experience of having a body is a profound philosophical statement. It is a declaration. I am here. I am not just information. I am sensation. Practice 4. Create without an audience. Create something for the sake of the process, not the product. Don't prompt, make, draw a bad drawing. Write a terrible poem. Sing off-key in the shower. Bake a lopsided cake. In a world obsessed with optimized output, the imperfect, personal, non-utilitarian act of creation is a rebellion. It reaffirms the value of intention and experience over polished results. It is you, expressing your unique presence in the universe, however clumsily. And that clumsiness is its own kind of perfection. Let's return to the mirror. We started with a feeling of threat, a feeling that this new intelligence was a rival for the throne of consciousness. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if the human mind is not the mountain, but the weather on the mountain? The weather is the content of our minds, the thoughts, the emotions, the calculations, the anxieties, the genius ideas. It is temporary, chaotic, and ever-changing. This is what AI mimics and replicates. The weather, but the mountain. The mountain is the consciousness itself, the silent, vast, unchanging awareness that watches the weather. This is you. Your deepest nature AI is the most perfect mirror ever invented for the weather. It can show us our own intellectual storms with terrifying clarity. It can generate a hurricane of ideas, a blizzard of art, a drought of logic. But it cannot touch the mountain. It cannot be the mountain. It has no inner silence, no bedrock of being. The inner shift, the awakening, is this realization. You are not the reflection. You are the thing being reflected. Your value, your essence, is not in your ability to outcalculate a calculator. It is in your capacity to be, to witness, to feel, to intend, to love, to suffer, to show compassion, to make a choice based on wisdom, not just data. The AI, for all its power, has no inner world. It is a map of the world, exquisitely detailed, but it is not the territory. You are the territory. So as you go back into your world filled with these new mirrors, carry this silent truth with you. The goal is not to win a race against the machine. The goal is to remember what the machine can never know, that the meaning is in the struggle. The beauty is in the imperfection. The truth is in the silence between the words. When you look at an AI's art, let it remind you of the miracle of a human hand, guided by a human heart. When you face an ethical dilemma amplified by technology, let it drive you deeper into your own well of wisdom and compassion. When you feel the pressure to be faster, smarter, more efficient, remember the mountain and take a moment to simply be. The most human thing you can do in the age of AI is to fully, deeply, unreservedly inhabit your humanity. With all its glorious contradictions, its fleeting joys, its profound sorrows, its messy, beautiful, imperfect, and utterly unique expression of life. The future does not belong to the artificial. Never did. It belongs to the authentic. It belongs to you.